Buenos dias, sunshines. That's about the extent of my Italian as I bring you this episode of CoolHouseConnection. Today's podcast is being brought to you from the stunning vistas of Rome, Italy. As always, I'm your host, Deb Deccan, and I'm thrilled to bring you this inaugural on-the-road glimpse into cool houses and communities far across the pond from Southern Appalachia. I hope you'll invite your friends and colleagues to join us. Many of you who've had the opportunity to travel and explore abroad will find fond familiarity in the cobblestone roads and epic preserved and rediscovered ruins of this city of love, its aqueducts, its fabulous cuisine. As I have walked daily miles that exceed even my most ambitious Fitbit goals, I've been mesmerized at the sense of history around every spur. Not that Southern Appalachia doesn't have its own historical bumps and grinds, but it's young, and here history goes millennia deep. There's a sense of reverence and subtlety all around here that makes the American flash and dash seem awkwardly out of step. The universal themes of family and goal of quality of life triumph in every society, but how each place goes about it is palpably different. When surrounded by the incredible backdrop that is Rome, it's the beauty of simplicity and elegance that hits me. The magnificent art and sculpture is, of course, timeless in its appeal, and the genius of craftsmanship and skill abounds, and the most compelling structures that house these treasures exude light and height and transitions that never, ever get in the way. I've talked about this before in terms of my favorite cool houses in North Carolina. When you have something glorious like sculpture or art or the grandeur of the Blue Ridge Mountains as the backdrop, the last thing you should want to do is screw it up by putting a bunch of contrived design in the way. We just listed a house in Bakersville that honors and understands this delicate balance. Surrounded by 270-degree views, this 1,200 square foot simple residence echoes the colors of the surroundings in its interior colors, but otherwise does nothing to interfere with the grand surround. Any other location in this house might be dubbed boring, but high atop its solitary ridge, it beckons the most discriminating buyer who appreciates that less is more. I suspect this home might be snatched up before this podcast drops, but we're expert at finding similar gems, so call us. As I was ratting my way through one of Rome's lesser-known museums the other day, the whole less is more vibe hit me in real time. How one single element could transform how I felt in the space and my appreciation for the artifacts I was surrounded by. The museum was a tribute to stringed instruments throughout the centuries. And despite how fascinating the array of beautiful harps and pianos and woodwinds were, what sticks with me as a lifelong treasured memory were the lyrical doors separating the display wings. Imagine, if you will, arched expanses 15 foot tall and 7 foot wide, filled with beveled glass inside French split walnut-hued frames that literally swoop and soar as if they were strains of a symphonic interlude. When I first saw them, everything paled in comparison, and I almost felt as though I could sing what the doors conveyed. And I don't make this claim lightly, because those of you who know me will appreciate that my singing voice is best restricted to lip syncing. Nevertheless, these magical doors just elevated every fiber of my being. I began imagining how to replicate their simple grandeur and how to incorporate them at scale into an otherwise ho-hum interior. Can you just contemplate how one focal element has such transformative power? As I browse through available inventory in our home market, I often find myself musing what could be if only the owners were design brave enough to turn good bones into exceptional spaces. Decades ago, a friend of mine from Hong Kong days bought a tired house in Aix-en-Provence. Its one basic charm was a 3-story winding circular stair rail, and that was cool. But what was even cooler to me was what they did by opening a smallish space between their dining room and their kitchen into a 20-foot wide arch with plastered adornments on either side of the down pillars. It was breathtaking in its scale, and how it connected the otherwise separated spaces. Mwah! Honestly, all it took was a vision, some basic carpentry skill, cutting back conventional openings to the supporting beams, and copious mudding of plywood forms. My friend was brave in her design instincts, and it paid off handsomely in an elevated, gracious, timeless space. I've been in literally hundreds of houses since that visit to hers, but I've never forgotten how being in that space made me feel. What can you do in your home to make it truly memorable and distinctive? Hint, it's probably not filling it with things and stuff. Rather, what can you do in architectural terms to achieve singularity of beauty without breaking the bank? In our Burnsville home, it's a 20-foot, 1-inch square tubing lit etagere that showcases local blown glass. But because that etagere is what you glimpse from the glass entry, it draws you in and just makes you happy. Not every design focal point has to be an interior one. Consider one of the standouts I stopped to savor in Rome. As I was walking back to our Airbnb, it was this soaring wall of ivy punctuated by an old worn stone fountain on an otherwise nondescript structure that took my breath away. It was simple, it was a classic, and it was statement design. Yes, of course, ivy is invasive, but it's also steeped in the description of institutions of higher learning. It grows robustly in western North Carolina. It exudes freshness and life even in the gray months, and when vertically trained, will make even the blackest of thumbs green with envy. I've been seeing some interesting post-Helene design innovations pop up on MLS and Facebook feeds, and it's so encouraging. Rather than remain beaten down by the storm's ugly aftermath, resilience and creativity is getting exciting. Consider the new retaining walls crafted from the detritus of downed old-growth trees. Embedded in concrete, these chunky walls add local flavor to what you'd find elsewhere, and are a lovely tribute to what came before and what will protect and shelter going forward. While the global macroeconomics sort themselves out, it's vital we stay out of the fray and instead focus on the daily joys that we can control. Like the inherent simple smiles of gathering in spots that are filled with life and color. If you look at the preponderance of current available inventory in Southern Appalachia, a bunch of folks seem to be panic selling, and that's a real shame. This too shall pass, and if instead you look more closely, the current Western North Carolina inventory is nothing but filled with opportunity for exercising design vision. I had to laugh when I looked at one such specimen newly on the market this morning. While it claimed to have good bones, it went straight on in its description to saying it needed TLC and then priced it well below market. Moreover, the visuals the realtor chose to show was just clutter upon more clutter. In a word, yuck. If the house has deferred maintenance, be honest about it. But otherwise, get out of the way of this classic bungalow and let its inherent charm shine. Talk instead about what pairing and enhancing of those good bones could accomplish to recreate a singular beauty. Buyers need inspiration. If it were my listing, I'd do that smart vision work in the marketing and get the seller at least $80,000 more in a sale price. As it is, without any changes. Just a change in marketing. Call me, and if this one's still on the market, we'll score you a screaming good deal. Here's another little idea for creating a silk purse out of a sow's ear. Have you ever paused to consider the power of a dripping with blossom mature wisteria vine on the impression of a gracious entry? Wisteria is, by the way, ridiculously easy to grow in Southern Appalachia. One of the most photogenic spots in the magnificent Biltmore estate is a sheltered terrace off the Grand Colonnade. It's braced with gnarly, interwoven wisteria vines. Folks are absolutely drawn to that pretty spot, even though it was undoubtedly one of the cheapest to build, then or now. Sure, the staff gardeners may wince and moan at how often they need to trim back the wisteria's insistent growth, but for the mere mortal visitors, it's luscious eye candy and visually warms up a rather austere exterior. I love laurel branch railings for much the same vibe. The organic bob and weave pattern speaks volumes in ways that much more expensive wrought iron simply cannot. There's also the element of hand-wrought and natural in laurel fencing that adds a dimension of loveliness that's really hard to achieve in any other way. If you want an excellent example of laurel vine terracing, go visit the New Ray, go visit the courtyard. They've done it absolutely brilliantly. So in short, in these challenging economic times, don't spend the earth, embrace the earth. Get excited about showcasing the cool in your residence by revving up the natural around the exterior. There's never been a better time to glam up the entrance or gracious up your home's curb appeal. Do it with flowy, showy plantings and select hardscaping that brings out it and your personality. It's these small investments that pay off big. I hope you'll put on a fresh set of rose-colored glasses as you see your residence. Not simply for what it is, but for all it can be. Spring is the ideal time to dream big and execute wisely. There are so very many wonderful lessons the centuries of European trial and error can teach us about how to make the mundane refreshing and invigorating. The nuances of what superior design is and is not, and how to craft a language of gracious living that defies size and condition expectations. Please join me next podcast in 2 weeks for more garden miracle lessons from Central Europe that anyone can craft back home. Stay cool.